So thank you for joining us today on this interview with Vicky Godfrey from DNA Pal. Those of you that don't know who I am, my name's Cameron Harris. I'm the co-founder of a company called True Fitness, and we help business leaders lead more confident, healthier lives through some simple lifestyle tweaks in just 6 weeks. So today we're joined by Vicky from DNA Pal, and she's going to tell us a bit more about DNA. What is it? Why should we care? What are the benefits? And most importantly, really, is how can a business leader, someone that's tired, stressed, probably drinks too much, travels a lot, lives in this very high pressure environment, can use a product like, genetic testing, DNA Pal, and use that information to essentially, optimize their health. So Vicky, would you mind please introducing yourself, telling us a bit more about what DNA is, please?
Okay, so I'm Vicky, and I'm one of the co-founders of DNA Pal. What is DNA Pal? We want it's a personalised health advice service. So we very much focus on personalised health. We very much understand that one size doesn't fit all. As you may well have experienced yourself, you may have done a diet that your friend did really, really well on that diet, and then you might try that diet and then nothing shifts, no weight shifts, or the amazing results your friend got doesn't work for you. Why is that? That's because we're all completely unique individuals. And this is where the genetic testing comes in. So we work with a science called nutrigenomics. Nutrigenomics means nutrition for your genes. And this is where personalized health is really going to change the future of healthcare and nutrition and things like that, because we're starting to identify certain genes that don't work perhaps the way that we would have assumed that your body would work in certain individuals. So I call it the roadmap. By doing a genetic test, now don't just do anyone's genetic test, and that's not to pump my own business. We don't sell data. One of the reasons Kate and I set up DNA Pal was we were seeing a lot of DNA companies selling on the DNA for a lot of money. Ancestry is one of those. And a lot of people are concerned about where their DNA is going to end up. It's one of the most valuable things that we've got as humans, and it's worth a lot of money. So the problem is, if people don't take the genetic test, they don't get given a roadmap to how their body works. And what this report that you literally get a roadmap to understand your body. It empowers you on your health journey. You then understand why certain things didn't work for you. You then also get guidance on what is going to work for you. But again, knowing that your genetic data is safe and destroyed after the reports have run is really important. So again, that's why we set up the safe space, and that was one of the drivers behind DNA Pal. And then the name sort of DNA Pal came from us wanting to be your pal for the rest of your life. So we want to be your personalized advice support mechanism, because what happens is your DNA doesn't change ever, but your circumstance does. And this is where we get to bring in another long word called epigenetics. So if any of you heard the term epigenetics, it's like a light switch where we can turn the genes on and off. So you might have a gene that's not so great that you don't want to express, and that's okay, because if you do all the right things for that gene, it won't express. And that just makes working with health even more exciting from a genetic, nutrigenomics, epigenetics, sorry for these long words, makes it really, really valuable.
Cool. Okay. So you've kind of highlighted some really key points. Some bits I picked up on was like the personalization of lifestyle and nutritional advice. And I think, I'm in the industry, obviously, and I can see more and more of this coming up, more people talking about it, more people talking about, these generic programs that people sell to you for £500, they're not necessarily going to work for you. And I know myself, they probably won't work for you. So just tell us a bit more about, for example, if someone took your test, how would that kind of impact their decisions around what kind of food they should be eating, when they should be sleeping, when they should be working? Just give a bit of an insight into that.
Of course. I mean, the test looks at so much, as you've probably seen, Cameron, how big the reports are from a simple swab inside the mouth. We actually test for 700,000 SNPs. And we only report on about 70 or 80 of them at the moment, because they're the ones that only have the solid research behind them. But the research in nutrigenomics is just coming out faster and faster and faster. So it looks at stress, exercise, how your body breaks down the neurotransmitters when stressed, how your body sleeps, your melatonin receptivity, best way to train, detox pathways, B12 requirements, omega-3 requirements, vitamin D requirements. And this is whether you have an increased need, whether you can get enough from your diet to genetically support your body. Some people can't. So, for example, my skin receptors on my skin don't work. So I only found that out through a genetic test. And I was like, oh, so come September, after a summer of sun 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, I can't remember, I went and then got a blood test, and I was on the floor, borderline deficient. Now, I would have just assumed that having a summer of sun, I would have enough vitamin D levels to carry me through the winter. No, because my skin doesn't work. So I'm buggered. No, I'm joking. But what it does, it's empowered me as an individual to know now at winter I have to supplement with vitamin D3 and K2. Might I just add, not just any old vitamin D off the shelf, but a vitamin D3 and K2 to support your immune system through the winter months. One of the other things I think is fantastic is where we tell you how to train. So we had a client who was very overweight. He was training, doing HIIT training. So, the short, sharp interval, 20 minutes. And the weight just wasn't shifting, and his diet was quite good. Anyway, we looked at him genetically, and he was more suited to endurance, power training. He swapped to that, weight fell off. So, just some real simple tweaks. We've got another colleague at the moment. She's doing a video diary. And in 5 weeks, the transformation of 3 tweaks on her diet, a tweak to her exercise regime, and I think that was pretty much it. This video diary, she's just like, look at me. And her face has completely changed. She's glowing. She's lost, she was a big girl. There was one of the genes is the FTO gene, which is nicknamed the fat gene. And she's got that gene and that gene. Have you got that too? But again, the research shows that exercise is really crucial to help support that gene of that FTO. So there's so much we look at, and I know I've named quite a few: B12, omega-3, and vitamin A. I haven't mentioned yet. But I think the crux of it is it's empowering the person that's done the test to take responsibility for their own health with the knowledge that they've just been given, and understanding themselves more. And that is invaluable to anybody.
Absolutely. And I think, for me and for you, it kind of makes total sense, because why would you not start with something that gives you this kind of insight into what you should be doing? Because I talk to people all the time that spend 6 months, a year, 2 years, 3 years, trying and failing to lose weight, to get healthy, to sleep better, and nothing seems to work. And some of them, are kind of trying, but not really doing that much. Some are really trying and not getting any results. And those people there, if they were to kind of invest in looking into their DNA, they can actually pinpoint, as you've alluded to, hey, these 3 things I'm doing aren't actually working for me. And I just want to kind of go into one area that you mentioned, which is stress, a little deeper. And the reason being is because a lot of our clients, all of our clients, suffer from some level of stress because, as you may or may not know, they are business leaders. So the business elite, long hours, not a lot of sleep, lots of big teams, lots of big decisions going on all the time. And whether they, conversations I have with some of them, it's like, I don't suffer from stress. It's because they think they don't. They've still got it on them. They've just created, these kind of strategies around it. And some are in a position where, oh yeah, I'm 10 out of 10 all the time. So if someone was to be in that situation where they're highly stressed, they know about it or they don't know about it, if they were to take a DNA test, what information could they take from that, and what kind of steps could they take to improve that area?
So I'm just going to focus on 2 genes at the moment, because I think that's enough for anyone to take in that hasn't taken the test. One is the COMT gene, so COMT. And what that looks like is, how does your body break down the adrenaline and dopamine that your body creates as a hormone and a neurotransmitter while you're in that situation. So we can't change the genes, although we can do the epigenetics to support the genes, but we can't change like that baseline. But how we deal with that stressful situation, we can change once we've got that knowledge. So the COMT one first is about how does my body break down adrenaline, dopamine? Does it damage my body? Do I have a longer recovery rate after a stressful situation? And then there's another gene that we look at, which is cortisol. Don't know if people have heard the word cortisol. It's getting more mainstream now. And it's a little gene. It's a little gland that sits on top of our kidneys, and it's called an adrenal gland, and it spurts out a chemical called cortisol when we get stressed. So if you shout at someone with a bit of road rage, "Oi, get out that way, beep," for example, you will be excreting a chemical called cortisol. That has a 4-hour negative feedback loop to reset itself. And that the longer that goes on, if you're in a day of an 8-hour day and you're just shouting, that's just spurting out. So one of the insights that you get is how much those situations damage your body. And if that is the case, then we can do supplementation, we can tweak some foods that can really support you. I think one of the key things that people really don't understand is magnesium. Magnesium really supports the nervous system. It's also responsible for over 300 other enzyme functions in the body. So it's hugely important. The first trace mineral that stress depletes is magnesium, and your nervous system needs it. So it's always one of the first things that we put in, especially if we see that somebody's got a high impact COMT gene. We might get them to look at their job a little bit different. You know, sometimes things can be tweaked within the workplace. Sometimes another person could be employed to help with that volume of work. If we're doing 14, 15-hour days, is it that the volume of work is too much for one person? Could it be split across two people? You know, and just discuss all those things. Some might be possible, some might not be possible at all, especially if you haven't got a great boss to listen to you, or if you are a great boss, perhaps listen to your staff if they're doing 14, 15-hour days. So things like that. And again, you know, if it's from the cortisol perspective, we can use things like adaptogenic herbs like ashwagandha and things like that can really support the cortisol response that's going around the body and like damaging the DNA. We want to minimize that. So sleep plays a huge part in it. Making sure you have enough relaxation time. Meditate on that plane. If you're flying everywhere, give yourself 20 minutes on that plane just to shut your eyes and meditate. Try not to drink on those planes because that will dehydrate you. And obviously, going slightly off tangent and end up giving you flight tips, but but it all sort of goes together within health.
Yeah, it's a holistic approach. It's everything, right? Yeah. And I think the thing that we promote to our clients is the fact that it's not just one thing, right? It's the interchangeable links between all these different things that happen. And I think the DNA obviously gives you, real pinpoint accuracy information around, hey, look, you've got this problem, take this supplement or do this. And I think it's really important for people to understand, because we bang the drum of magnesium, ashwagandha, all this stuff all the time, and people don't really understand it until taking something like a DNA test and goes, actually, your genes tell you should be taking this. Because something we see a lot of, and probably experience it in your line of work, is that lots of people that have stressful jobs or stressful lives, instead of taking like a proactive approach to it, they'll use something like alcohol to kind of numb themselves down. And then the problem they find is that when they come to us, normally it's because they've been using that coping mechanism for so long. Unfortunately, alcohol's got lots of calories in it and they get overweight. And then they come to us to say, hey, look, I'm 2 stone overweight, 3 stone overweight. And that issue that could have been fixed or treated or looked after at the kind of, when it started, now 2 years down the line has caused a lot of problems because they've put weight on, they can't sleep, they've now got diabetes, they're on metformin. So I think, again, if people are watching this and they really want to start on their health journey, or they've started and nothing's really happening, I hope that they're kind of understanding the benefit of taking a genes test, because it really is giving you, it's not something just telling you or saying information, it's factual science, right?
I think what's nice is it takes out the guesswork. So you know yourself as having worked previously as a personal trainer and myself as a nutritional therapist, you know, without sometimes some of these functional medicine testing, of which genetic testing sits within that family, some of it you're guessing. So you're like, you know, you might, if you don't know if they've got slow twitch fibers versus fast twitch fibers, you know, sometimes you have to get your client to keep a diary of how they feel when they're doing this and blah blah blah, to then understand their body more. So it's a way of shortcutting some of that trial and error and taking out some of the guesswork. And you know, for the sake of a couple of £100 or whatever, it's, you know, you can spend a lot more with the trial and error with your diary and the food diaries and things like that. So I mean, it's just going to go from strength to strength. It will be the future of healthcare on every level, from nutrition to pharmacology, and you know, minimizing side effects in people. So it's hugely empowering.
I think this would be really interesting for some people. Because obviously, we've got January coming up, right? So we have the whole New Year resolution crew banging the drum, you know, on the treadmills come the 2nd of January. I think if there's anyone watching this video, and this is because I've done this a while now, and there will be people out there that have already kind of signed themselves up to a personal trainer. I'll leave it to the new year. Leave it to the new year. If you're thinking about doing that, I would really consider, you know, having your DNA testing done before, because what can happen is, as you know, Vicky, you can spend January, February, March spending a lot of money on a personal trainer that isn't really, is giving you kind of information they think is going to work, but really you could probably spend between £500 and £3,000
Yeah.
on something that is not going to work. So it seems to make sense to me, and I hope it does to people watching this, that having DNA testing done before you start that journey means you can go there armed with information saying, hey, look, I know we've got this program, but this tells me this is not going to work for me. And can you imagine the amount of time and energy and money that's going to save someone looking at that before they start, rather than looking at the end and having to start again?
Yeah. Like you said, it just takes that guesswork out. And it helps you as well as the personal trainer, or as the person guiding that person back to their health or back to their fitness, whatever angle we're coming from. It just takes away that trial and error, and you can just get on with it then. You know, focus in the right way, not getting halfway down the thing going, this isn't working, I've still got fat around my middle. Well, that's not right for you. Maybe you haven't eaten the right amount of protein for you, or, you know, because also the genetic test looks at your sensitivity to sugar. Some people can tolerate sugar and white bread and white pasta, and some people can't at all. Some people can look at it and put on weight.
That's
Again,
me.
is
That's
it?
me. Yeah, I mean,
Alongside
any
your FTO gene.
carbs are just not, I just can't have carbs really. And it's strange because obviously I did the testing with Kate, right? And you get this information, you kind of go, right, I get now why, you know, why I was aware that I'd have, you know, for example, for me, it would have been beer. So years
Yeah.
ago, we used to go out with my friends on the weekend. I'd have beer, which basically is bread, right? It's just sugar and starch. Just that's all it is.
Sugar and hops.
Sugar and hops. And I'd wake up Monday morning and I'd feel like an elephant. And now I know that information is because actually I can't have carbohydrates. So if I go to see friends, I wouldn't drink beer for one, but if I was to have red wine and gin in my head, and I go, right, well, if I'm having that as my sugar, as my carbohydrate, I cannot eat any carbohydrates for 2 days before and 2 days after. And what it's allowed me to do is to balance out and still enjoy myself, but not to put on weight. And that's where, you know, just from a nutritional point of view, we see a lot of people making the mistake of, oh, I'll drink beers on the Saturday, have a fry up with bread, toast, beans, and a curry, and wonder why they're 3-4 stone overweight. So having even more information, even more data to say, actually, you can't have any carbohydrates, because what we find is that most people you talk to and say, you can't actually have any carbs, they go, what? What do you mean? And they think that they're not going to be able to survive. They think I'm going to die. Well, you're not. You know, it's manageable to have a very small amount, especially if you're really overweight. You having lots of carbs is probably not a good idea on any kind of, you know, stretch of the imagination. So I've found that piece of information for me has really helped. The other one that really helped as well for me was the caffeine. So I've got a real high tolerance to caffeine. And what it meant was that I was kind of really limiting when I had it, because I was concerned about it affecting my sleep, stuff like that. And having that information meant that actually what I've started to do over the last 18 months is to have caffeine before exercise, but quite a lot, you know, quite a big coffee. And actually I found that's improved my performance when I exercise, but not having the information would have then triggered me to make that small change, which then has helped my training and my weight management, stuff like that. So
Yeah.
absolutely, I think it's a game changer for many people. But just to finish, Vicky, could you tell us where can we find more information about you and DNA Pal and all the stuff that kind of happens behind the scenes?
Yeah, so we do have DNA Pal on LinkedIn. We do have an Instagram page, which is dna.pal, and we have a Facebook page, and we have a Facebook community page as well, which I think is called DNA Pal Community. Yeah, DNA, or it might be DNA Pal Health Hub actually on Facebook. And within those groups, we're regularly sharing tips to optimize your health and things like that. And again, we're nutritional therapists, we're trained. We're registered. I had a clinic in Harley Street for several years. I let that go through COVID, mainly because everything swapped to Zooms. And I'm also trained Birkbeck University in cancer. So we've got, and Kate is amazing with genetics. So it's quite a little powerhouse of a team. And then we've got other nutritional therapists that support us. But again, I think there's lots of places you can find us on our website, www.dnapal.me. Thank you for all those plugs, Cameron.
I'll put it below. Don't worry. We'll put it below the video. Don't worry. That's cool.
But yeah, you should all do one because, like Cameron said, it's changed his life. It changed my life. And after I realised the value of changing my life, that's when I phoned Kate. And I said, Kate, we've got to do something, but we've got to create a safe space. We can help so many people. But there's got to be a safe space on the market, and that's what we intended to create and have created. So, we genuinely want to help people. And can I just say, we regularly get text messages saying, "Thanks, you've changed my life," and that's huge. How rewarding is that to know that you've changed somebody's life because they've got that knowledge of how their body works? That's all I'm going to say on that. But
no, it's amazing. The timing's good. It's coming up to Christmas. I think, as much as we all say New Year's resolutions is a silly thing, it's people are more in that headspace, in that positive mindset to start making a change. So the timing of this video is perfect. So let's hope it changes some people's lives and they take action. But thank you for your time, Vicky. Like I say, that's all right. We'll post the links, the ones you've just given us, below the video. This is going to go on our YouTube, on our LinkedIn, and also inside of our private group. So we'll share that. If there's anyone out there that's kind of interested in what Vicky does, I'll put the links below. If you're interested in what we do, if you're looking to lose weight, change your lifestyle, this is what we do for our profession. So check us out, DM us, contact us. We're happy to help, and we'll catch up very soon.